What's up, knife freaks, sharpness geeks, and purveyors of stabby goodness? Welcome to the Knife Freak Show. My name's Jonathan McNees. This is Mr. Chase Boatright.
Panda Watch. I'm sorry, Blade Show Watch. That's what we'll be covering today. Hi, how you doing?
Blade Show. This is the big one, guys.
Yes, the largest knife show in the world, from what I understand, at least according to their marketing.
Yep.
But I wouldn't doubt it. I mean,
according to their marketing, it is.
It's huge.
Right.
That's all I know.
I would say it probably is. Yeah.
As far as knife-specific shows, I mean, there's probably bigger shows that have knives at them, but you know.
Right.
Anyway,
that's right.
How you doing this week?
So, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about everything. What about you?
I'm good. Yeah, I may finish one more folder before we go, but if not, I'm not too bothered if it stays here and I'll finish it later. So I'm good.
I got you. So yeah, you're in good shape then. That's great. That's great. Yeah, we're kind of in the same boat. We've got a few left that we still got to put clips on and stuff. And we're gonna still keep building basically right up till the last day or whatever. But I've got a couple of kind of special ones that, well, they're done other than clips, including one. I really dropped the ball. I should probably just go ahead and show it and talk about it, but I may save it because I'm still hoping it's going to actually make it to the show. But I did one special one. And
I think I saw a hint of that on one of your stories earlier today.
Yeah, well, maybe not. That's one of the special, but not special, I think, that you're talking about. This one was in the picture, but if you have to be looking really close to see it, you probably saw the more obvious. And you're the first one that says that. I posted that earlier today, and nobody's even caught it, which I can't believe because it's subtle, but it's not that subtle.
I mean, I was going to text you, but it was like an hour before I was going to be talking to you anyway, so, you know.
Right. So, yeah. So we got that, but yeah, there's one back behind the couple in a row there. And what we're talking about, guys, is I posted a picture on Instagram in my story. So by the time this comes out, it'll probably be gone. But I may post it or a better. I'll probably post a better picture.
Oh, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah, full on non tricky picture in my main feed before I've got to get it promoted before the show gets here. But yeah, last one, got it. I was all super happy with it. It went together great, all that, and then realized after the fact, hey, this thing needs a clip and not have material to make said clip out of. Yeah, so rushed, ordered some more material, and hopefully it should have been here like the next day, which would have been like Thursday. But of course, you know, when I really need something, like I order it from, well, this will be more of a hint for those of you that know, but ordered it from somewhere that's like an hour and a half away from here, and should have gotten here by FedEx the next day, and it's not supposed to be here till Monday.
Of course.
So, which will be tomorrow off of when we're recording the show here. So anyway, so if that material gets in and everything goes well, getting a clip out of it, then that extra special one will be there. If not, it's not. It's like you said. Like I mean, that one I really would like for it to go.
I mean,
just because I like to see people's reactions over it and stuff. But
yeah, if there's a place to take one like that, I think, you know, Blade Show's the right place to do it, and you know, but also, you know,
that's right. We do have some special. Like I said, I'm calling that one special. We got some special ones, just a small handful of special ones. So worst case scenario, we'll at least have those. So anyway. Yeah, what about all your like logistical kind of stuff? You got everything lined up for your table and all that good stuff. Some comfortable shoes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely bringing the comfortable shoes and not the the ones the beaters I wear in the shop all the time with no tread left on them. But
yeah, this is where you save your really good new cushy shoes.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, I haven't dug in, and you know, we've got to like iron the tablecloth and all that. I hadn't done all that yet, but it's all it's all packed and ready to go. Right. It's just it never comes unpacked until we go to the show. So but
no major changes to
no. I wanted to order one of those new, like those banners that sort of pop up and like just slide over the little arch thing, but I neglected to do that, and so we'll just be fighting with the regular banner for now. But
Yeah, it's all good.
otherwise, it's just going to be the same as usual. What I saw, you had your booth pulled out in the middle of the shop. Have you figured out your new setup all the way yet?
Well, I think more or less. I'm really glad that I pulled it out and started looking at it too, though, because I had made a miscalculation.
Mm.
So we're doing it's a double booth, but it's 2 booths wide, so it's only 10 foot deep and 20 foot
Yeah,
wide, right? So
but
I had miscalculated, and I was thinking I was going to put an 8 foot table. So we're going to have our big wooden booth bar thing across the front with a table with tablecloths, on either side of it. It'll be like lower, so it'll be like a step deal, which I think I'll like. Okay, and then on the end that the open end, one end butts up against somebody else's booth, and the other end will be open to the aisle. And on that end, I was planning on putting an 8 foot table. I was like, okay, we got 10 feet deep right there. So I put an 8 foot table right there, and that we'll have a couple of feet to spare. Completely wasn't thinking about the fact that table will be butting up against the back of a table in front of it. So like the table that creates the front of the booth, like this table has to sit behind it. If that makes sense. So, we basically were going to be, there was going to be no way to get in and out of the booth or anything. And I was like, that's really not, it wouldn't have been the end of the world. We could have figured something out, but we scrambled and like, okay, we need a smaller table. So we scrambled and ordered a smaller table. It's narrower too, because you get I think those standard folding tables are like 30 inches wide. And so you get 2 of those kind of butted up against each other, making a corner. It's kind of makes it almost inaccessible. You know what I mean? Like it's a long reach all the way across that corner up to the front of the table or whatever. So anyway, we ordered a shorter and narrower table to go on that end, and then had to order, of course, a tablecloth to go on it. Although the other tablecloths are branded, and I had an 8 foot tablecloth for that end that was going to be branded, but considering the short notice, we didn't have time to replace the 8 foot one with a branded 4 foot one.
You could always 4 foot. You went all the way down to 4 and not 6. Okay. Well, I was about to say you could possibly do some creative clamping. We've done that before with our 8 foot tablecloth at 6 foot shows, and But I don't know if it'll go down to 4 feet. That's a lot.
Yeah, because I think to the 8 foot, because it was 30 inches. The table that's going to be in front is 30 inches. So you got 10 feet. I'm subtracting 30 inches of it for the table that creates the front. And then 6 feet was still going to make it, like it would have fit, but it was going to make it pretty tight for us to be able to get in and out of the booth and stuff.
Yeah.
So plus I need somewhere to put my gumball machine and all that. So, we just went down to a 4 foot by like 2 foot table, which will actually make that corner a little better. It'll free up some space on the inside of the booth as well by not being such a deep table. So anyway, but I think other than that, I've pretty much I'm working on I'm working on it some today, and I'll finish it tomorrow when I've got some people here to help me, a couple extra sets of hands to cut a piece of plywood down. I'm making a shelf to go on the underside, on the inside of the big wooden bar.
Yeah.
We're going to put a shelf in there to stack inventory on or whatever, so that we don't have to try to be digging around in cases and stuff. We're going to pull it out of there and organize it in stacks and have it, our inventory sitting under there.
Yeah,
so
make it a little easier than having to, dip down and all that, and you might be able to, kind of maintain a presence as far as above the booth and still kind of be talking to people.
Right.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It should definitely help. It's just digging around in cases for stuff. It just like when we did Texas, I had everything all nice and organized. I set them in there in sections, but then of course you have to stack some stuff on top of each other, whatever. But I organized it the best I could, and that's for about 5 minutes. It was a complete wreck. So I decided we're just going to pull it out, put it on a shelf, and do it that way. So
that's the hardest part. Once the bullets start flying, as it were, once the show is live, you think you're all organized and you're just going to put stuff back where it goes and it's going to be simple. And then all of a sudden you're like, where is everything that I even brought? Like I have a whole bunch of stuff, but none of it is the thing I need. And you're like, I can't even find a pen right now. What is happening? I brought 30 of them. But yeah,
it gets a little crazy, which I would take that all day long over like having no traffic at the
yeah,
booth
no, yeah,
for
definitely.
sure. I'm very grateful for having traffic and for it getting crazy. So I always try to keep that in mind. But yeah, it definitely that's why I'm thinking if the better organized I can be, better system I can come up with, start with, the better off we'll be.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, that's we've already gone through, and well, we haven't done everything yet. We've got a lot. Most of the Dixons we've already got. We're going ahead and putting price tags on them now, so that when we get there, we're not dealing with all that.
yeah,
So, that little stuff like that. Trying to streamline it as much as possible for the show.
yeah,
So it always gets I always get stressed out, like especially the first day when we're setting the table up. Like seems like I'm never down there as early as I want to be, starting to get stuff going, and then inevitably, you know, end up people stop by the table before the show's open to talk and stuff, which is I love it. I want to be down there early enough to be able to do mostly that,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, just network, shoot the breeze, check in with everybody. But usually I'm scrambling at the last minute trying to find everything, get everything set up the way I want to, and all that. But
yeah. And
I think we'll be. Go
sorry,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, and like to clarify, I think you're talking about like your knife maker, vendor type of friends, the people you've met in the
Yeah, yeah,
industry
yeah,
for
yeah.
the last 10 years. Those are the people that like, or, 10, I say 10 years, but it's been probably longer than that for you, but like,
Oh yeah, yeah. More like for the show, it's probably like
yeah,
16
I
years
mean, people you've literally been, talking to and communicating with for,
from two
yeah.
decades.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, and you only get to see them in person for a couple minutes a year most of the time. But
Right.
like, yeah, that's,
Yeah. So you hate to be like, oh, I'm busy setting up the table.
yeah,
But then if you blow them off, inevitably you're not going to end up getting a chance to catch up
yeah,
with them.
yep,
So you both get busy. But anyway, that's just part of it. But we're taking a bigger crew this year with us, and so that'll help. And like I said, I'm trying to do a better job of kind of having stuff organized and minimize what we have to do when we get there. Like I said, if we're not scrambling, there's a lot of times we've been to the point where we're actually filling out price tags and putting them on them as we're putting them out on the table. Just having the price tags already on them will help a lot.
yeah,
So
for sure.
anyway, but yes, I think that's I think we're in pretty good shape. Thank goodness I did go ahead and kind of mock everything up and discover that again, it's not like we would have just not been able to make it work. It would have been fine. Even if we had to leave the end table completely off, it wouldn't have been the end of the world. But it's I think I'll be much happier with the way we've turned where it's going to be now. So we'll
All
see.
right. Yeah,
But all right, so uh, I believe you put out some feelers for some questions and stuff for related to the
I
show.
did. Wanted to see if anybody out there had any, questions for us as far as attending the show or anything like that, or as far as the maker side or the attendee side, and got a couple of both.
Right.
Um,
Good.
First one I have is best pizza within walking distance from Baconswag, and that's a question that I'm really not sure of the answer of. He said best slice of pizza within walking distance. And there's not a whole lot of pizza around, as far as I recall, in Atlanta. Um, I
Mm, within walking distance.
within
That's
walking
probably
distance, it's sort of a hard
probably
little. I mean, it's not a hard place to walk around, but it's stuff's further apart than you may want to
yeah.
walk in June in Atlanta.
It it depends on what you're calling walking
Yeah, yeah,
distance. Yeah. I mean, if you're talking, a couple hundred yards walking distance, then it's a little different
I mean,
than
it's
half mile radius walking distance or whatever.
yeah,
So,
that's
um,
probably more of the walking radius I was thinking of, and I think there's a
yeah,
pizza place over by the Braves Stadium, sort of across the interstate, which is a 6-8
yeah,
lane, sort of
right.
interstate that you're walking a bridge over from the Cobb Galleria
Yeah,
to Truist
there's
Park.
a walkway across
But
there. Yeah.
I think there's like a pizza place over there, but other than that, the only one I know of is Costco, and so
Yeah. Well, there's I don't know. I've never honestly paid attention whether they have pizza or not, but there is a little Italian place across the highway there that you can take the little sky bridge walk thing over to the little
yeah,
mall. There's a Maggiano's. This is an Italian place. I don't know for a fact that they have
Yeah,
pizza.
I don't either.
We eat there every year, but I've never even paid attention to whether they have pizza or not. I always get other
I
stuff.
think that steakhouse
But
might even have pizza, the one that has the coffee rub steak. I think,
really,
but I don't know if you can go
well,
get them, go get a slice, but I think they randomly have
yeah, I
pizza
don't know
somehow for some reason.
about. Okay.
But
And depending on what they got now, I can't vouch for how good it'll be because it changes every year. But there are food vendors out in the
yes,
lobby area now of the every year of the show, and I know at least some years there's been is it maybe
I
Papa
think it was
John's?
Papa John's last year, but it was Pizza Hut one year, I think. And
Yeah.
usually they have
So
Chick-fil-A out there as well.
yeah,
I
it'll just depend on the roll of the dice on what vendors they have this year. There might be good pizza right outside the doors. There might be no pizza, or it may be bad pizza. Who
yeah,
knows?
yeah.
So
And I don't know how
when you
much.
get there and figure it out, let us
Yeah,
know.
I don't know how much those pizzas cost. I've never wanted to,
They're not
yeah,
cheap.
I imagined they weren't, so I just never wanted to find out. And we try to come prepared with
Nothing out there.
sandwiches or
Yeah, nothing out there.
yeah. But there's your answer, Bacon
Yeah, no,
Swag.
yeah.
Hope that
Never really.
helps.
Yeah, I've never been too big. Now we don't. When we are actually, like I said, we're bringing a bigger crew this
Yeah,
year, so we're bringing a little more stuff than we ever had as far as stuff to eat. Like when it was just me and
yeah,
Amy, like we'd throw a protein bar or something in my bag or something like that. But like some pack of peanuts or something like that. But we never really packed like full on
yeah,
food. But and it used to suck, man. Like there used to be no kind of vendors at the
yeah,
show for food. I mean, you could get alcohol, like that's
yeah,
basically it. And then the vending machines up front had Cokes and stuff in it, but not
yeah.
food. Like Amy used to have to go, like she would leave and go cross over to the
Mm-hmm.
mall that I was talking about over there, and there's a cheesecake factory and several things over there. Like she would go over there and pick up lunch or whatever and bring it back and stuff back in the day. But yeah, now I don't know, for probably the last 3, 4, 5 years maybe
Yeah,
they've started having vendors out there, and that's been a godsend. Like that's one of the best things they've
yeah, for
done.
real. I mean, for everybody, because I mean, if you want to, be at the show and enjoy the show, like leaving and trying to fight traffic and going to, trying to, find parking to go to another place, go get lunch, and
Right.
then come back and do the whole thing and, fight traffic and parking
Yeah.
again to get back in, it's not a good deal.
Yep.
But
Yeah, and for us as vendors,
yeah,
like it's something we can grab to eat quick and
yeah,
easy. Also, like as vendors, ideally we want as many customers in the show on the floor as much as
hmm,
possible. So people having to leave and go, like you said, maybe be a 2 hour ordeal or more to go eat, and then they may decide, oh, I'm gonna go back to the room and take a nap, and then they don't even come back to the
yeah,
show. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like I want our customers
And
there.
there's
Like make it easy for them, make it convenient.
exactly make it easy and make it convenient. And this actually ties into a question that you wanted to address for this particular topic, but finding food and the whole
Yeah,
protein bar or snacks and stuff like that. I would highly recommend bringing those with you. Just
yeah.
to eat something. Because there's a lot of times you can get
If you can just
busy and just not realize you haven't ate for 8 hours and
right,
um
something you can kind of eat on the go, or
yeah.
whatever. Like you can stand there and be looking at something and scarf down a protein bar or something, so you don't get to feeling too bad.
Yeah,
So
especially for the
yeah,
vendors and stuff, I would recommend bringing snacks and stuff like that because sometimes you don't get a lot of time to eat. But even for people
right,
walking the show floor, bring water and bring some sort of snacks like that. I would say bring a small backpack, not your huge tactical one with that's 4 foot wide. But I would say bring a small backpack and put some water in it, like a good metal water bottle, and some Nutri-Grain bars or protein bars or whatever your snack of choice is, like that.
Snickers, whatever you're
Yeah,
into. But yeah. All right, so yeah, that should and then as far as like while we're on the topic of food, we'll just go ahead and say there are quite a few restaurants within easy driving distance or Uber distance or whatever right
yeah,
there. Like I said, there's some across the walkway, the mall across over
yeah.
there. I've actually never even been over to like where to the stadium and stuff, but there's stuff over there. There's actually a couple that are in the complex
Hmm.
for the thing, and I've eaten at at least one of the places there, and it was not I mean, it was
Yeah.
okay. It wasn't. It definitely wasn't terrible. It was actually pretty good. I think I had a burger or
Yeah.
something,
Talking about Murphy's.
but yeah,
Yeah.
Murphy's down there. Yeah,
It's
and then
sorry. Murphy's is a little like
sure.
sports bar down in the actual Galleria
Yeah,
part of the mall that Blade Show's held in. And yeah, I've ate there as well. I think with you,
right.
and it's it's good. And but yeah, there's a lot of stuff around. It's just a matter of it's not necessarily walking distance or
Yeah,
it's like Uber
yeah.
distance.
I would consider the little mall over there walking distance. You walk across that
Yeah,
crosswalk or
yeah,
whatever. We walked over there a million times. Like
yeah,
it's a little bit of a hike, but it's not that
yeah. And
bad.
over there, like,
You get out
uh,
farther than that, it's Uber or
yeah,
drive.
and I think they've got like, isn't there a Buffalo Wild Wings, a Cheesecake Factory? I,
Yeah, I know there's a Cheesecake Factory. I think there's a Buffalo Wild Wings. There's that Maggiano's restaurant. There's a
yeah, there
steakhouse.
was some sort of seafood
Um,
restaurant that I think we ate at last year.
yeah,
Then the
yeah,
steakhouse, and so I mean, there's definitely food options around. Um,
yeah,
but yeah,
yep. So that that well, and let's see. Well, for evening time and stuff, I don't guess there's much. There is like I know a lot of people go out and eat breakfast in the um down around in the pit area. There's actually there's a fancier restaurant down there in the
hmm
hotel. It's kind of in the pit area, and then there's like a lot of people go down and eat breakfast in the morning at the little breakfast buffet or whatever down there.
yeah,
So anyway, yeah, just come prepared and to eat a little bit on the go, and maybe we'll find some decent pizza there at Baconswag. We'll
yeah.
see.
Mainly just don't want anybody. I have seen people like slumped over, sitting down out in the hallway or out in the little alcoves where the bathrooms are and stuff, like huffing and puffing and like the blood pressure's dropped and like having incidents like that. So I'm mainly just trying to avoid that for any of you guys wanting to attend the show. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, especially if you have any kind of issues with blood sugar or stuff
yeah,
like that. For sure, come
yeah.
prepared because it will sneak up on you in
hmm
there for sure. So, all right. So before I get any more hungry, let's
Yeah,
move on from
for
food.
real. I didn't eat lunch. Um, but all right. So from Hager Custom Knives, another fellow maker, he says, "How many knives do you typically have available at a show?" And I'll start off on this one, I guess. It depends on the show. Um, but for like Blade Show, for example, it's I try to bring as many as I can for the most part, and this was my first year doing Texas and then Blade Show, so Blade Show Atlanta, and so I only had 3 months in between, which normally I have 6 months basically to lead up and get more done. So I think this is the least amount of knives I've ever taken with 8 to Blade Show, but they're folders. So 8 folders I feel like is a pretty good number. I wouldn't want to go less than that.
Yeah,
I would, preferably want to have more. Um, and but for fixed blades, I took anywhere from I think 28 to close to 40, and it all just depends on your market and your making schedule, I think, as well. And it also depends, because like Jonathan taking 8, I don't think it would be worth it. So, but yeah, I think Hager's just handmade custom guy like me, so I think I don't know if he
right.
makes folders or not, but I saw fixed blades on his uh, page, and I think 30-35 would be a good, and you've also got to kind of calculate it up and be like, can I make back these shows, expenses with what I am taking? Um,
Right.
so that's, mainly what you've got to consider. And, we talked about it last time about not bringing too much or not putting too much out. And, you can kind of
Yeah,
regulate that on your own, sort of terms. If you bring 100 knives, I wouldn't put 100 knives out on the table day one. Um, as
definitely
a
not.
handmade guy.
Yeah, yeah. And that's similar, like, so again, like focusing on kind of handmade stuff, since that's probably more pertinent to what he's asking. That's, I told you guys how I way overdid it the first few years or whatever, but then, there towards the end, as I'd gotten a little more seasoned and learned my lessons, and as I was doing way more it's way more folder heavy than fixed blades. So yeah, it would be usually somewhere between, about like Chase said, probably somewhere between like 8 to 15, somewhere in
Yeah.
there, on the folders and stuff. So it was, I was kind of always a little bit of a overachiever on the number I would try to bring. So I probably should have brought less a lot of the times, honestly. But and just like he touched on, and like we touched on last week, like, even though it may seem counterintuitive, do not be afraid to not put everything on the table at the same
Yeah.
time. Like, keep in mind that you got more than one day. Like I used to, some of them I would split up and intentionally, especially like when I was selling my lotteries and stuff, I do lotteries for half of them Friday and half of them Saturday or
Yep.
whatever. So I made sure I had stuff on the table both days, but just however you do it, I wouldn't, if you don't have a ton, if you got 8 to 10 knives, then I think it's probably totally fine to put them all out there on the table right off the bat. If you've got, if you're getting up there in like the 20 range or whatever, I would probably consider maybe not putting them all on the table initially, and then, replacing some of them as they sell or whatever, or saving them for the next day,
Yeah.
or whatever, and you can always, if somebody comes by and like you got two of one model, but they're different handle materials or whatever. Somebody comes by, they're interested in the one that you got on the table, but they're kind of, they're not really, they're nibbling, but they're not biting. And then you can always be like, well, what, is there a different handle color
Yeah.
or whatever, that you might like different on there that's, holding you up. And then they might say, yeah, I'm really kind of like blue. Oh, well, hey, I've got a blue one right here under the table. Hold on, let me get it
Yep.
out for you.
I've had that exact
So,
scenario happen. Like,
yeah,
I think it was a green handle, and they were, they kept picking it up, feeling it, looking at it, and they kept
yeah,
putting it down, being like, it's just not sure about that green. And I was like, what do you think about blue? And that exact scenario happened, and they ended up walking away with the knife.
yep,
So,
yep. So that's, just don't be afraid. It kind of gives you it almost makes them feel like you did them a favor
yeah.
too. I mean, then this is not like anything, it's not like you're being sneaky or nefarious. It's just, it's not practical to have everything on the table at one
Mm-hmm.
time. So, and then you can, like I said, you can kind of judge off of people's reactions and that kind of stuff, what maybe they are looking for, and offer that to them. So, this might not be a bad place to interject another little tip for makers that has always been a problem, but I feel like it's gotten worse. Guys, if you're behind the table displaying, do not be lazy. Like, you're there to work.
Yeah.
You think about the image it puts off if somebody comes up to look at your stuff and talk to you, and you're just slouched back in a chair, and even worse, slouched back in a chair on your phone or having a conversation with somebody else, and basically acting like the customer is not really important. Like, if you're not treating them like they're important, they're probably not going to treat your work like it's very important. So that's just, I mean, don't be like, I mean, it's basically rude. Like, I do not like seeing people standing or sitting behind their tables or booths, while they're up talking to customers. Now, there are exceptions. There's people that are, physically not capable of standing up enough or whatever, like, I mean, I can see cases where it's acceptable. I mean, there's makers there of all ages and all different physical capabilities and all
Yeah.
that, but don't, don't make excuses either. If you truly cannot stand enough, that's one thing, but like 90% of us should be standing as you're talking to customers and stuff. Don't be lazy and act uninterested. And definitely, I cannot tell you how many times I've literally had people with tables right next to me, and to see, if you stood back and watched how I stood and showed respect to everybody that walked up and interacted with them, treated them like a human being. And then other people, guys would walk up, they're sitting at their table while the same people are coming past their table. They're sitting there either not even starting a conversation with the customer, or, talking to them while they're sitting down or whatever. And comes the end of the day, and guess who's complaining about not selling enough knives? Hint, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
It's the people that don't treat their people like, just good basic human manners. Like, that is one of my pet peeves. I cannot stand to see a maker sitting behind a table, just sitting there, even if you are interacting with customers, like show them the respect of standing up. I mean, how would you like it if you walked into a car dealership or something to go purchase a car or something, and you know, you just walked up to a counter and the guy just sat there on a chair behind the desk or behind the counter and talked to you and didn't act like they were enthusiastic to talk to you and to meet you and to try to serve
Yep.
you. Like, how are you going to serve somebody sitting on your ass? Like, get up. That is and I know probably some of us that I'm getting older and I'm getting crotchety and stuff, but like, because I know there used to be some of the same kind of stuff that was said about how people dress for shows. Like there was a time when it was kind of expected that you wore like decent pants, not necessarily not like dress pants, but like some decent, you know, at least a nice pair of blue jeans and like a button-up shirt, something like that,
Yeah.
kind of with a little class. And still a lot of people do that, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. And I think a lot of that is dependent on your kind of your style. Your clothing style for one, but also your like the kind of stuff you're
Yeah.
selling. Like if you're sitting there selling like really high end, fancy, you know, forged Bowies or whatever.
Yeah, I was about to say you'll see a lot of the master smiths and, you know, guys like that. They'll be in a button up shirt, they will be in, you know, nice blue jeans and, you know, like and
I admire that.
for sure.
I don't think that's really necessarily. Now I don't think you should look like a slouch,
No.
but like I'm gonna have on my, you know, I'm gonna have on one of our branded T-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's who I am. I mean, that's what I.
But
wear
it's not one that
every,
you just got done, you know, digging, you know,
right.
chips out of the CNC with. I'm guessing it's going to be new. It's going to be clean. It's going to be, you know.
I just packed them in my bag a couple hours ago. Amy made me a whole stack of brand new ones that are just for the show. I haven't never even worn them. They're in there just for the show. So anyway, yeah. So yeah, just like think about how you're representing yourself and your brand as, you know, the customers there, because I hate to tell you, but there ain't anybody there whose knives are nice enough to overcome you not treating people correctly. If that makes sense. Like you're like, sure, you may sell a few things, but you're never going to reach the potential of the kind of stuff that you could sell if you don't do the little things to treat people correctly, to include just something as simple as standing up so you can stand there eye to eye with them and talk to them and shake their hand and all that. So like show them a little respect. You're wanting them to pull money out of their pocket that they worked hard for and give it to you or trade it to you for something that you worked hard on. Will show them the respect of at least standing up and having a face-to-face conversation with them.
I'm big on that too. I'm a little, I guess, old school on that in some terms of, you know, how you should act at your table. But I mean, a lot of the younger makers I see are doing it better than some of the older makers right now. So I mean, that may be just, I don't know, not necessarily an old school thing, but
that's good to see. And maybe it's some of that too. May be just that they're, you know, they're a little hungrier. They're a little, you know, maybe their egos are in check a little bit more, because think about how egotistical it is to think that you're going to make some stuff. I don't care if you make, you know, the best stuff in the world. Like you're going to lay it out on the table and then just expect people to come and throw money at you and not even show them any respect by standing up and talking to them and stuff. Like I just can't stand that. Like that goes against everything that I'm, you know, that I believe in.
Yeah.
So
one of the guys I was talking about
really
last episode or 2 episodes ago, Lucas Gumbiner, I mean, he's one of the best makers I know of. And I don't even think he has a chair behind his table most of the time. He's back there standing up, enthusiastic all weekend to talk to anybody and everybody that walks by. So, you know.
Yep. Like I said, do not expect, don't think that your work alone is going to carry. Again, I'm not saying you won't sell any knives if you do that. There's lots of people that sit right there on their tail all weekend and sell knives, but I can almost positively guarantee you that you will not be as successful as you could be if you were willing to be a little less lazy and a little more respectful to people.
Yep.
So, and like I said, I've literally seen it. You know, there's probably more factors at play, but I have literally seen people, some of them even friends, that would sit beside me at their table and sit down basically the whole show And then at the end of every show, they were complaining about how little they sold. And it wasn't their work, because their work was phenomenal. Like, so, like, dude, like, you got, and then, and then be being mad at the customers because, they're not paying them enough attention or whatever. Well, you're not paying them attention. You got to pay them attention if you expect them to pay attention to you. Like, that, again, get your ego in check. I don't care how long you've been doing it or how good you are. Like, these people are what allow you to be able to do that. Like, if you can't have the graciousness to stand up and talk to them and shake their hand and look them in the eye, then,
I don't even know why they're at the show if they're not willing to do that. That's like the whole point. I mean, I believe,
well,
I think I'm repeating Sean Kendrick.
Go ahead.
Like, I think he said that a couple years ago on the Mark of the Maker podcast. Like, he said the exact same thing. They're doing themselves a disservice by being there, because
yeah, because you'd be better off to not be there and not let people know that you're, don't have manners, and don't show them your true colors. So, but yeah, I honestly think some of it's a laziness thing, some of it's an ego thing. And there's probably at least a few that honestly just never thought about it. And just because, dude, it's hard. Like, my legs and feet and all my back, everything is killing me by the end of the day, the first day, not to mention the third day. Like, it's physically, it's physically not easy, and I get it. But, and I'm not saying you got to stand up every single minute, but like, I'll take a quick break and sit down, and somebody walks up, I stand back up. The rare exception might be if I'm in the middle of eating, and even then, usually I put my food down. Like, if
try to finish the bite your own.
Yeah. But like, I mean, it's just usually my eating is, not a start to finish. Like, it's a broken up. It's take a few bites. Somebody walks up, put it down, talk to them, go back, sneak a couple more bites, or whatever.
And anyway, I do want to say something here. Like, a lot of people are very respectful of the fact that you're eating, and they'll be like, "No, finish your food," or whatever. And while I greatly appreciate that, like, no, I'm on. I really do. I want to stand up and talk to y'all. Like, so I mean, don't feel like you can't. At least for me, I guess is what I'm speaking to. I know other people have said, like, don't bother them for a minute, let them eat. But like, for me, just, please come to the table. I'll, I'll do something, and I'll figure it out, and I'll talk to you in a second once my mouth is clear. But
Yeah, me too. It's the same thing. People are nice, and I appreciate the sentiment when people are like, like you said, don't. But at the same time, like, that's I'm not there to eat. I'm there to interact with you guys. So, like, yeah, for sure. Don't, just don't judge me if I'm still like wiping, mustard off my mouth or something. While getting ready to talk to you. But like, but other than that, So that's kind of from the maker side of things. I think etiquette,
for sure,
a good etiquette thing is to just be, be interactive with your customers. Don't be lazy, don't be shy. You're there, treat them with respect. The way you'd want to be treated if you were shopping somewhere. And you got to think, guys, too. Some of these people, whether you think it or not, I feel like everybody is probably this way. There's probably a few people that wouldn't admit to it, but I think every maker is at least somewhat like nervous and like anxious and shy, because we're putting our stuff out there. I mean, we're basically going there, and it's not really to be judged, but it kind of is.
It very much is.
You're kind of getting, I mean, you kind of got your, you kind of standing there with your ass hanging out, to be honest with you. Like,
that's why, like, I've had other makers ask me, about critiquing, and I'm like, hey, it's very hard for me to like try to do that in a gentle way. Like, I try to be very cognizant of what I say, and like, it's a difficult thing, because you are just kind of laying it all bare.
That's right. And so it's it's really easy to be on our side of it, to be kind of nervous, especially if you're not like an outgoing person in the first place. Like, it can be really easy to just let that kind of overwhelm you. And then, it's not that you're trying to be rude. It's just, it's just hard to, if you're not typically outgoing and do a lot of talk to people a lot and stuff, it can be hard to flip that switch and go into that mode, especially when you're, super nervous and anxious about what people are going to think about your work and all that stuff. Like, it's just, but it's something that you really need to get over. And the best way you get over is by getting reps in and doing these shows, and just first person that comes up, strike up a conversation with them, whether you really want to or not, and just keep doing that. And eventually it gets easier and you get better at it.
I always have a problem on like Blade Show weekend, or like probably for the next, couple days after Blade Show. I'll be like, we'll be going out to dinner that night or whatever, or we'll be going home, and people will be walking past me as I'm waiting to go to the bathroom in the gas station, and I'll be like, "Hey, how you doing?" Or like I'll start to try to talk to them, and I'm like, I don't need to do that here, but like,
I mean, it depends. Yeah, I can say. I mean, you start getting around the restroom lines and stuff, it might get a little weird. They might think something else is going on.
Yeah,
but like in general, talking to people is not necessarily.
Yeah, I can't turn it off after like I've been doing it for 3 days. I've every person that's walked past me, I've try to engage with them in some way, and so like it it gets weird when you're standing there waiting in line for something. So.
I talk so much anyway that I don't know. I've never really noticed that, but I will tell you something that's I think I've actually probably told you before, but I'll just put it out there for everybody to hear. It's super freaking weird, man, what happens to me. So for starters, like at one point I never would have guessed that I was an extrovert. But now that I've done this stuff more, and maybe I wasn't always, I don't know. But the best definition I've heard of being an extrovert or introvert is if you're an extrovert, you actually get like charged up from being around people, and then an introvert, it basically drains you, right? So I definitely get charged up. Like I get back to the room and like I am dead tired and like exhausted, but at the same time, like my mind's going a million miles an hour. Like I'm super hyped up, and it's almost like I've just been sucking caffeine all day. Like I get super jacked up. And Amy is the exact opposite, but you would never know it. You would actually think she was more extroverted than I am. But
I would have imagined so.
But it drains her.
Yeah.
But no, it does the opposite. So she's just really good at dealing with it. But the point I'm getting to is, so at night, this is so freaking weird. I will get there and I'll go lay down to go to sleep, right? And as you're in that kind of like half awake, half asleep mode, like I will have these conversations going on in my head. Like it's me having a conversation with a customer or, or whatever, but it's not a replay of conversations that I had. It's these totally made up, like random, like you would normally have a dream and you're having a conversation with somebody, right? And it's like, it's not a memory. You're not remembering a conversation. It's totally made up in your mind, but it's, you're dreaming it. So like it will happen like over and over and over again. Like I'll have all these just multiple conversations just overlapping, running on top of each other, like as I'm kind of like fading in and out of sleep. Like it's so freaking weird, and it happens every time I do a show. And like it's like it's not like I'm laying there like stressing out revisiting conversations. It's not that. It's not like replaying conversations. It's just like a continuation of the day, except it's all in my head. It's so freaking crazy. Like I've never talked to anybody, I don't think that's actually had that. Other people be like, "Oh yeah, you're like," and I'm like, "No, I'm not replaying conversations. I'm making up new ones." Like I mean, I guess I have like maybe it's some of those other personalities in my head that I'm talking to. I don't know, but like it's so freaking weird. Like,
thinking of like stuff you wish they had asked, or I don't know, maybe that's how that could be. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. And it's always just so random. And I usually couldn't really tell you, what the conversation is. It's like it is with a lot of dreams. It's just like, in the moment it seems normal or whatever, but then like you wake up wherever and it's like that. I don't even know what that was, or that doesn't even make any sense. Like it just, it's so freaking weird. But anyway, so looking forward to that, having that happen again. I swear it happens every show, man. I guarantee you Friday, probably by Thursday evening, because I'll be, talking to people in the pit and all that Thursday night. So probably by Thursday night, I'll be doing that. So
all right then.
Yeah. Me and my inner voices will be having some conversations.
You get to see them a couple times a year now too. So yeah. Well, next question then. This is from Inhale Tide Pods, and this is also sort of maker etiquette-ish, I guess. But he says, as a knife maker, what is your perspective on dealers/vendors using their exhibitor badges to buy knives before the show opens just to resell them for a higher price? I don't know how much it actually happens, but there's always complaint about it. complaints about it at every show. So what do you think?
So yes, it does
Yeah.
happen. I don't think it happens as much now as it used to because the Blade Show staff has cut down and made it a lot harder for people to get in. That are just there for stuff
Yep.
like that, but it does still happen. So I don't. So it depends. So like if they're say it's a big company and like for example this year we're taking stuff that we plan on displaying on the table, right? And a lot of it, but then we're also bringing some extra inventory that I plan on having. Essentially, I mean, if somebody happens to ask, about a certain configuration, and we happen to have it stuck back in this other inventory, then of course I'm going to
Yeah.
go grab it for them,
Yeah.
right? But I'm primarily taking it so that any dealers that, or maybe every show we have people approach us about wanting to be new dealers and stuff like that. So I'm basically taking that inventory just for potentially selling to dealers, right? And so if they come by before the show and they want some of that stuff that's it's legitimately extra inventory that we've
Yeah.
got, then I'm not even planning on putting it on the table in the first place, then yeah, I'll for sure go ahead and sell it to them. If you're selling something that is in high demand and you have low, where there's way more demand than there is supply, then I don't
Yeah.
like it. I've never I've always been, probably to my own detriment to sometimes. I used to always put dealers off till like the end of the
Yep.
show. Like I'd tell them to come back around last 2 or 3 hours of the show or whatever, and we'd see what we had left, and then we'd start selling to
Yep.
them. Learned over time that it wasn't just that I learned over time, but like as we were able to start bringing more and more inventory to
Yeah.
shows, then it started to become obvious that hey, like we can go ahead and sell some of this, but like again, we're not going to like for example, we're not going to go to this show, and the Dixons are our big new item. Like we're not going to go to this show and sell off any Dixons, much less most or all of them before
Yeah.
before normal customers get a chance at them. Like I don't actually plan on selling any Dixons to dealers at the show, assuming that you guys all come and buy them the way I'm hoping that you do. So if we happen to have some left at the end of the show, then some of our top tier dealers may go ahead and take those home with them. But I'm not going intending to sell them our biggest ticket items that are the most popular stuff. Like I said, we've got stuff that's specifically for the show, for displaying at the show. That stuff, that's what that's for. I've got extra stuff I'm taking. So I think more what he's probably referring to there were these guys that are, stuff is high demand, low supply, and they're still selling it to dealers before the show. And I mean, it's their prerogative. I mean, I can't blame them, the whole bird in the hand, because I don't care how popular your stuff is or whatever. You never know. Like everybody still worries that their stuff's not going to sell as good as they want it to. So I'm not going to blame somebody for wanting to, get the money in their pocket and that's, they got to make the money.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I can see it to a certain extent, but I also don't like it because I think a lot of times guys just do it so that they can basically hurry up and unload their stuff, and then they can go basically have fun and hang out at the show and just do whatever. And I just I feel like you're there at the show, you're this, and you're supposed to be displaying that you're not just there to sell knives, but you're also there to promote your brand. You're there to talk to people, to get feedback from them, to let them shake your hand, whatever they want, let them cuss you out, whatever it is that they're wanting to do. But a lot of them want to interact with you one way or the other. So yeah, I don't really approve of selling a bunch of stuff that's high demand stuff and selling it to dealers before the show just because it's easy. Again, I'm not going to say it's technically wrong. It's their product. They can sell it to anybody they want to. But in my mind, these people, I mean, these customers that are coming to the show to buy our stuff is kind of the reason that we're able to have a show. So like, the dealers play a part in that. I mean, the dealers
do.
they come to the show, spend money, like all that stuff too. So like, I'm not begrudging the dealers. I just, I think you got to be
Yeah.
careful with what you choose to, again, if you've got plenty of something, then I don't see any harm at all in, letting the dealers go ahead and get some or whatever. But if it's something that's going to be taking away from other customers that have been standing out there in line for, 14 hours or something, and then they get in there and they literally run to your table and it's already gone before it gets there because you sold it to a
Yeah.
dealer 30 minutes ago before the show opened. Yeah, I would feel crappy if I did that.
That's sort of where my perspective is. And you said something a minute ago that you choose, and every maker, every manufacturer, whoever is at that table, they choose when and how to sell their product. And if someone wants to buy something, they don't necessarily have to sell it when that person wants to buy it. So I mean, that's the choice that the maker makes. And like Jonathan said, it is, I'm not begrudging anybody for making a house payment. But I would definitely say those that, have something that's in demand. Like if I were to go and, sell 4 of the 8 folders I sold, Friday morning before anybody even walks in the door, or Thursday even, I've heard of that happening on Thursday, I feel like that would be wrong on my part. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to sell anything until the doors open on Friday, is my perspective. That's when everything before that is just meant to set up and get ready. And then once the show actually kicks off, then things can happen. And, I let dealers enter my lotteries, and I let dealers buy my knives. I work with dealers as well. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Dealers are an integral part of, I think, our industry. But as far as, just letting them do it beforehand because they, or they get in because they're working as well. And while they are working, I understand that, there's a time to buy and there's a time not to buy, I guess, or there's a time to sell and time not to sell.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I think most of the really all the responsibility of that, even though there are some dealers that can be pretty pushy and stuff, but the responsibility for that falls on the maker. Like you said, they're the ones that can choose, and not to like kind of fan the flames, but like it is not a like myth that deals go on before even you said Thursday. I mean, there's people that sell crap tons of stuff right out of their hotel room before the show, Wednesday night or Thursday night before the show even opens. Like, and that most of the people that I see doing that are the people that kind of like, they want to come to the show and make the money, but they're not really, they're more concerned with kind of being able to hang out and chill out or party or whatever. And like, I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's what, if that's your deal, then that's your choice. You can sell to whoever you want to and do it however you want to. It just, I wouldn't feel right doing that, knowing that I've got customers planning to come around and try to get stuff and to talk to me and to do all that stuff. So, and like, matter of fact, I used to be such a stickler, like I told you earlier, like even since the custom days, like over the last couple of years, like I would have certain stuff that we were going to set out for first day and certain stuff we were going to have for the second day. And like we say, we'd only have so many Tantos or whatever. I split them up and like, okay, these 5 Tantos are going out today. We've got 5 more that are going to go out tomorrow. That way, people that can't get here till tomorrow will still get a chance at a Tanto. And I've literally pissed people off like pretty bad. That would come to the table and like they'd be asking about a certain Tanto configuration where I'd be like, yeah, I've got one. Here, I'll show it to you, but like, I'm not selling this till tomorrow. And like, they would beg, like, get mad, like, man, I've got to leave. I can't be here tomorrow. And like, I've gotten where I'm not as bad about that because like, I kind of decided, like, I mean, which one is worse? Like, you got somebody standing there in front of you wanting the knife. They went to the trouble to be there. They did everything right, but then you're telling them they can't buy it, even though I'm standing here holding it. So like, it's kind of a can't win, on the thought that maybe somebody's coming tomorrow that's going to want it. I don't even know for sure that anybody's going to buy it. You know what I mean?
It's sort of back to that.
I've relaxed.
That thing that you say a lot, like trying to please everybody. There's no way to do it, and I understand the intent to try to make it available to the most amount of people as possible, and because there's
right.
a lot of
I
people
was
that,
just always trying to make it
yeah,
as fair
yeah,
as
as fair as
possible. You know
possible.
what I mean? Like, okay, we get a certain amount of, these people can't be here tomorrow, so I'm going to do it, but then like, well, is that fair? Because then you've got people that took off work to be there on
Yep.
Friday, and maybe stood in line for, however long. So like, is it fair to not give them first shot at stuff? You know what I mean? So like, it just all kind of depends on how you look at
Yeah.
it. So I'm not as much, I don't really do that anymore. Like we pretty much, but if I do, like if I set whatever, like we're not selling this till tomorrow for whatever reason. Like I said, hardly ever do that anymore. But
Well,
like,
I don't think,
then
I
that's
mean, that's one thing to like do it before, like in the realm of the show, but like I don't think you're going to be selling
right,
those special Dixons before
right,
doors on Friday.
right. Nope,
So
nope. Oh, dude, I can tell you a story like I used to have, and it wasn't dealers. It was just regular customers. Like I said, it was a lot easier for just general customers to get their hands on passes to get
oh
in
yeah,
early back in the day. And the year that I decided to make the switch to go full time knife making was the year that we got down there to go set up our table, and we didn't get down there super early, but I mean it was still before the show
yeah,
opened. And when we got down there was already 2 or 3 guys standing at our table waiting on us, and like ready to buy, like right then.
Jesus,
And I made them wait until. I mean, it's kind of stupid because I made them wait until the doors open, but they're still already standing right there. So like, you know what I mean?
I,
It was the same
yeah,
difference. So what do you do? Tell them, no, go stand at the door and race everybody else back here. You know what I mean? How do you enforce that and be like,
I might.
all I could really do is be like, I'm not selling it before the doors open. And once the doors open, like they're already standing there. So it
Yeah,
was,
I'm already a nervous wreck when I'm setting up my table anyway. So like, I can't. If
yeah,
somebody's standing there watching over me doing all that, I'm glad that's not
yeah.
the case anymore. I wouldn't handle that
Well,
well.
yeah, but at the same time, like it was a huge blessing to think about.
Yeah, no,
Like
that's
you've
great.
got people that are stuff bad enough that like, and that was the year that like during that show, Amy looked over at me and was like, "It's time for you to go full time." Like, and so that within I don't know, I guess that was in June, and so I think by December I'd gone full
Yeah,
time in the knife making. So like, yeah, that's always kind of a neat story, but it's an example of what you're talking about, and they've tried to crack down on it a lot. Matter of fact, to the point that now it's hard. We can't even get our full crew. I can't even get everybody I'm taking into the
yeah,
show before the
yeah,
show opens to help set up. Like there's limited number of you get limited number of passes that are true exhibitor passes. Like there's different levels of
yep,
exhibitor passes, I guess, essentially now. So like you can only get like the true early exhibitor passes. You only get even with a double booth. Like I'm paying for 2 booth
yep,
spaces, and I can't get enough passes to get all of my people in there before the show opens. Some of them are going to have to wait and come in after the show
yeah,
opens. You know, and my people certainly aren't going around trying to scoop up product from other people, like but it's because of that stuff is why they've
yeah.
done that. So anyway,
But I mean, like
so yes, it does happen.
for table holders, or I guess table buyers like me, I mean, you can get 2 passes. Those will get you in the doors early and be able to set up. But otherwise, you can get more passes than that. But those people have to come in at the same time as everybody else. So
That's right. That's right. All right. Did we have any more? I know we're getting probably close on our time here,
uh
but
we had one more that's sort of just related to me, but I'll go ahead and touch on it.
yeah.
And it was Andrew Healy 454. He asked if I would he said, "Will you bring another Moraine L compound grind to the show? We need it." I'm not sure what he means by another one, but this one will be at the show. It's Baker Forge Sanmai with Butterscotch Micarta. This will be, I think I'm doing a lottery on this one. Sorry, going the wrong way. But yeah, so this one will be at the show and will be available for lottery. Don't know if I'm doing it Friday or Saturday yet. I've still got to figure all that out, but I'm pretty sure you can do posts and stuff on YouTube now. And so I think I'm going to get a group picture of all the stuff I'm taking and post it on YouTube as well as Instagram, and that way I can tell people what I'm bringing and doing stuff. I think you can do that. I know you can at least post words. I don't know if you can post pictures or not, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So
cool.
All right.
Cool.
Any more Blade Show pet peeves or Blade Show etiquette, type advice you want to
Yeah,
pressing?
there's at least one more thing. I think we touched about it at the last
Mm-hmm.
show, but this is well, it's for makers, but also just like with everything, guys, if if buyers don't buy from people that are doing things that they shouldn't be doing, then people won't keep doing that thing. Okay. So, for example, if you know somebody, like back to the question a minute ago, if you know somebody for a fact, sold a bunch of stuff off before the show that you were wanting or whatever, I mean, I'm not telling you to like not buy from somebody, but like
vote with your wallet.
that's what I would do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, consider that when you're spending your money. Like, are they treating their customers the way, do you want to be treated the way they seem to be treating their customers? And if not, then maybe consider don't being a customer. Like, but so the point I want to make though is, makers, do not be a brown bagger.
Yes.
Okay. What that means is, if you are not paying for a table or a booth, do not bring your product, and I don't care what the product is. I don't care if it's a knife. I don't care if it's lanyards. I don't care if it's lanyard beads, 550 cord survival bracelets, whatever. Because I've seen all of this stuff being hawked at the show by people that are not, and they'll try to be cute and subtle about it and walk around with stuff hanging all off their backpack so that somebody can ask them about it, and then they'll turn around and say,
I saw one dude those like the guys at like baseball stadiums with like cotton candy that have the stick. Yeah, I saw one dude like that had like lanyards and stuff hanging off of one of those, and he was going around like, just walking through the aisles.
Exactly what I'm talking about. Yep, and that's exactly what he's doing, hoping somebody's going to stop him and ask him about him, and then he's going to sell them. And that is 100% brown bagging. That is essentially stealing from, in one way, from those of us that are paying. Because, like, guys, I'm not kidding. Like, if I told you how much we're spending this year, all in with the advertising and everything to do this show, like, y'all would probably crap your pants. Like, sorry, and there's companies out there that are spending way more than us. Like, it's not like we're the top dogs on booth size and all that. There's guys that have booths that are twice the size of ours or more. Like, so, and are bringing way more people and that kind of stuff. But it's if you are not, the whole point of us we are paying to be there to sell. If you're inside those showrooms and you're selling, then you should have paid to be there. And I don't mean paid to get a ticket to get in and walk around is not the same thing as paying to be there, because I promise you it is way more expensive to pay to be there and sell. All right. So yeah, way more expensive. So just now, if you're a maker and you want to bring stuff and show it to people, and like in the pit at night, if you want to show it to different makers as you walk around. I did that in the first show I went as an attendee. Like, I took a couple hours. I didn't dare. I wouldn't even think about selling something, but I did show it to, a handful of makers to get their feedback on it or whatever. Not only there's nothing wrong with that, but I highly encourage you to do that. That's a great thing to do. Fine to show your work to other people. Like, and I mean, technically, you're potentially maybe drumming up future customers, but as long as you're not actually trying to sell, and don't be super crazy pushy about it either. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't be essentially selling your stuff there that you're just going to turn around and, it's one thing to kind of show your stuff in the conversation. Everybody's pulling out their stuff and showing it down there in the pit and all that. It's another thing to be standing at a maker's table and they're interacting with a customer, and then you whip out something that you made, essentially like trying to gain a new customer. You're essentially like trying to steal that customer away from the person they're talking to, almost. Like, and that kind of stuff happens, guys. So just like, don't be a brown bagger in any sense. Don't be afraid to bring your work and show it around, but leave the selling at home if you're not paying to have a space to sell, because and it will get you, if they find out that you're doing it, it will get you kicked out of the show and probably banned from the show. So if you have any thoughts of, being a legitimate maker and selling stuff there at some point, that would not be a good way to start, because you might end up with yourself banned completely. So
Agreed.
Other things I'll say is just be very cognizant of what's going on around you. Try not to block up people's tables. When I don't know what the solution is. Well, from the customer's end, there's not really a solution, but I've seen many times where a popular maker has got, especially if they have some kind of a lottery or something going on, and they've tried to avoid this by not letting people have like in-person lotteries at their tables and stuff, but then I still see
people still gather when they know it's drawing time.
Right, drawing time, or they're not gonna. It's not technically a lottery, but they're not gonna start selling said product until a certain time or whatever. And then you get. I mean, I've seen lines that were probably covering 6, 7, 8 people's tables, like, so there's one table here, and then you've got a line for that table that is standing in front of probably 6 or 7 other people's tables, clogging them up where nobody can get to them. Like that's kind of crappy. Like that's kind of like, filling up the parking lot in one store because people are going in the store next door to, when the people in the other store paid for the parking lot.
Yeah, that's, that's very much the same.
And again, that's honestly more of a maker's thing to deal with and try to figure out how to not have that happen. Because, I mean, if you're a customer, I mean, other than just not getting in on said thing,
well, I mean, there's not a whole
lot you can do.
I think that the customers can do. I mean, it's mostly innocent, I would say. And, they're standing there talking to a friend or whatever at another person's table, and they're just kind of, maybe they're trying to do it for the maker that they're talking to, but inadvertently they start to kind of drift in front of another maker's table, and then you've got a couple people standing there, hanging out, looking at a knife or whatever. And I think it's a lot inadvertent, but just being aware of where you are and what you are in front of is, a good thing to do. Not to mention that,
for sure,
there's sharp things everywhere. So be cognizant of, especially for backpacks and, like other stuff like that. And one thing I will say is if you have a drink, please be cognizant of like where you like try not to put it down on people's tablecloths or on people's tables and stuff like that. Like, I know it's hard to, find a spot, especially in a sea of feet and stuff. You don't really want to put it on the ground, but like putting a drink on a maker's table or, like dripping, condensation across somebody's table is,
Yeah, we've had them spilled on our table before.
Yeah. As soon as a drink comes on my table, like I'm just like staring at it the entire time. My focus is off of the customer. It is purely on that. So,
just little stuff like that you guys can think about. Just being aware of your surroundings in general will take care of a lot of that. Just, think about what you're doing. It's really easy to get caught up in the excitement and the heat of the moment. And, here's the knife in front of you that you've been dreaming about for 2 years, and now here it is, and you get to handle it. Like, it's fine. Like, we want you to be excited, but be aware of what's going on around you. And that goes for all of us.
Yeah, and so also on that note, stop running in the show. I'm about to start yelling at people.
Yeah, and that's typically just when the show opens. And they try to tell them not to run, but at the same time, I think they've kind of just like thrown their hands up and been like, screw it, they're gonna. It's not cool, and I know they shouldn't be doing it, but I also get a kick out of it, especially because probably about 90% of those people that you see running have not run since the last Blade show, and and they're pretty comical running and everything jiggling,
and they've got the 400-pound backpack on. They're carrying their flip-flops.
Oh man. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's one of those things. Like I said earlier, it's kind of a blessing and a curse. No, they shouldn't be running and stuff. It's not safe.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's really cool to see that much excitement and stuff.
It is.
And if you're one of the makers or tables that are lucky enough that that's the table that people are running to, then like, gotta admit, it feels good.
Yeah.
Like that people. What I mean?
I mean, so, none of them are.
But at the same time, if I had my druthers, I would tell nobody to run.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Even if they were all running to my table, I'd be like, all right, just walk fast. Like,
and I walk fast through the show.
Walk fast, but
like I don't walk at the pace the rest of the crowd is going at because I've got to get to the bathroom or wherever I'm going and get back. So I walk fast through the show, but I just kind of walk fast in general.
But yeah,
But
that's a whole other thing than the
yeah,
running. But like, yeah, that's typically about the only time you see it every now and then for something else. But typically it's the
yeah,
initial rush or whatever, and just
uh,
look, if you're going to run, at the very least, be super
yeah,
careful. And for a lot of you that I see doing it, don't give yourself a heart attack, because I can tell y'all ain't running a
yeah,
while. So
yeah. And
I shouldn't do that,
I
but
mean,
sorry, it is
I'll
what
be
it is.
mean. Stop waddling in your flip flops. Um,
Yeah, there you go.
it's ridiculous. But
So
on that note of, I guess, more safety concerns, let's. This should be the absolute pinnacle of knife safety in the world. This should be thousands and thousands of knife people in one room that should know how to handle
yeah,
and properly, handle cutlery. So try to do that. Try to keep that in mind. Don't do silly stuff.
act like it.
What?
Act
Act
like
like
it.
it. Yeah.
Act like that we're a bunch of knife experts, not a bunch of
Yeah.
kids.
Don't be
But
don't be dumb. Don't do things that are unnecessary, like trying to spotty flick a knife you've never even picked up and held, like, over the top of a table of another knife, and, you know, be
yeah,
aware of where your edge is. Don't be spinning around, like turning around with it in the middle of an aisle. I've seen people get cut like that. Like, they've got an open knife and they spin around towards the aisle.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I turn around to show
yeah,
somebody or to
like,
whatever, and then it's the pit and stuff's always, there's almost always at least somebody starts bleeding down
yeah,
there. Of course, you're down there. Well, even in the show, honestly, now, I mean, it's, you start mixing alcohol and blades. It's
yeah,
there's bound to be some red stuff get exposed, and it happens every
yeah,
year. So um, try not to be the one that either exposes your red stuff or somebody else's red stuff
indeed.
about that.
And,
Just
and
be responsible, be careful. Um, be careful. We talked about it. We won't beat it in the ground. Be careful with other people, with when you're handling stuff on somebody's table that is not your stuff, that still belongs to them unless you pay
yep,
them for it. Be aware of that. Treat it carefully. Ask them before you do anything crazy with it or whatever. Like, don't be wrist flicking stuff. Don't be doing weird crazy stuff. Just kind of handle it with kid gloves unless they tell you
yeah,
otherwise. I mean, you're coming up handling our stuff, like, I'm going to tell you to open it, check it out, flick it open, whatever. Like, don't wrist flick it, because that's just dumb, for one thing. It just shows that you don't know how to open it right.
yeah,
But yeah, so just be aware, be polite, have manners. That goes a long way. And let me say this, because I know somebody's going to call us out on it probably if we don't say it. Be clean and wear some
yeah,
deodorant,
yeah,
because we've talked about that past shows. I've never honestly really noticed it that bad myself. I don't know if I'm just so like focused on other stuff that I'm not noticing it, but it is a common thing that we hear every year. And again, it's Atlanta. It's June. It's going to be hot. It's supposed to be in like the high 80s, I think, this
yeah,
week. So it's going to be hot. Everybody's going to be sweating. So prepare accordingly. Have some hygiene, because you're going to be in a big old rooms around a whole bunch of other people. At very close distances a lot of
yeah.
times. So just be a good normal human being, and have some etiquette and some hygiene, and everything should be good, and we'll all have a good time.
Indeed. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
And that's what we're there for. Oh, I'm really, I don't know, but I don't know. I might just say the same thing every year, but I feel like this year I'm even more excited than I have been in several years.
I've
So I don't know if it's because we
I've
got
heard that
a
sentence
new
before
model or
from you.
yeah. I probably say it every
Yeah.
year, but hey, that's good. I guess that means I'm not getting
Yeah,
burned
that's
out on
great.
it and stuff.
Great
So
attitude. Yeah.
yeah. So yes. So let's go over. I will be at booth 424,
Yes.
and those of you that are in line that were thinking about running, don't run, but definitely you're welcome to walk quickly to our booth. Come on and see us first, us and or Chase, but and then move on and enjoy the rest of the show.
Indeed.
And Chase, you're at table
I am
what?
at table 15B, so I'll be there all weekend,
15B.
and looking forward to
All
meeting
right. Oh, and
meeting a
real
lot of you guys.
quickly, I'll put you on the spot here. Are you going to end up having shirts?
Um,
podcast shirt?
Very likely. They are not done at the current moment because, like I told you yesterday, my mom, whose store I ordered these through, she just moved stores yesterday. I'm very sore right now from helping her move. So they're not currently done, but I think we're going to go press them either tomorrow night or Tuesday night and get them all done. So we
Okay,
should have
nice.
some Knife Freak
Hopefully have
Show
that.
shirts available there. I'll post about it if we
Yeah,
do.
and those will we'll probably just have all those at your
Okay.
table. We'll also have some at both of our tables. We'll have some new Knife Freak stickers. I'll post a picture of them. For the Knife Freak Show stickers, I'll post a picture of those so you guys can see.
Right.
Swing by and grab one of those. So, all right. Well, also we will not be recording a podcast next week, guys. We'll have to skip a week because, yeah. We'll be at Blade
We'll
Show.
be a little busy.
We'll do a cool, hopefully, a post Blade Show, wrap up kind of thing after the fact. So we'll see.
Yeah, then we can get into some more meaty topics. And for those of you who aren't going to Blade Show that are kind of probably tired of hearing us talk about it, we can move into some more other discussion that will hopefully be interesting to y'all.
There you go. All right, sounds good. Well, guys, we appreciate you. Those of you that are coming, we cannot wait to see you. Please make sure that you come up and talk to us. I don't care if you're planning on buying one of our knives or not. Just at least come by and talk to us, check the stuff out, get to see it in person. If you're not in the market that weekend for our stuff, totally fine. Lots of stuff there to buy. I get it. But would love for you to at least come by and talk to us. And especially if you're listening to the podcast, then we want to know, hear feedback and see how you guys are liking it, and just know that somebody's actually out there listening and we're not just talking into this screen for no reason.
For real,
so,
yeah.
Can't wait to see you guys.
And let your freak flag fly all the way to Atlanta.